Franklin, I'm so happy I get to actually have a conversation with you. I know schedules have been a little bit hectic and everything, but yeah. So for anybody who's going to be watching this, I'm an organizational researcher and a DEI strategist, but I most often work independently or as a subcontractor. So I don't often kind of get the casual camaraderie that you would maybe normally get if you work in-house, if you're lucky and if you work at the right company, of course. So this is kind of my way of having a digital water cooler time, where I get to chat with people whom I admire for what they're doing and for what they bring to the world. So this is why I really, really, really wanted to chat with you, Franklin, because you know so much and the researcher in me always has questions. And yes, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your invitation, and I'm happy to be here.
Actually, the first question, because it's me, I always have to ask, how are you doing? How are you doing today? What's like?
Yeah, I am very fine, as usual. I'm always fine. That's why I always respond. And yesterday was my official graduation from Ogo Academy. Yeah. Though I completed my studies a little bit earlier before time, and we had the graduation ceremony yesterday. And I was so happy for this milestone achieved, and that makes me more happy again.
Goodness. I had no idea you graduated yesterday. Well, congratulations. That's a
Thank
massive
you.
thing. Oh my word.
Thank you very much.
My goodness, you worked so very hard on that. What was your thesis on?
Okay, my thesis was focused on the mental health condition of women in the Anglophone region of Cameroon. And the mental health condition of women from the Anglophone region of Cameroon related to the armed cessation conflict. There I was trying to portray how women suffer a lot from conflict. Because during my research, I had the opportunity to interview, to discuss with many women who have been raped. Some have lost their husbands, some lost their children, brothers. And I also discussed with so many people in the community which I visited. And of course, this is a situation in Cameroon, but it could also be extended to every region of the world where there are these crises. And I think though we say, yeah, I know children, women, everyone is affected when in situations of crisis, but my research was focused on women, and what the research revealed is it was really sad. It was really sad, and as a peace advocate, it gives me more determination to promote the peaceful resolution of conflict, because it is really sad what people go across the world. It is really sad what women, children, because there in some parts of Cameroon, some children have been deprived of education because of this secessionist conflict, which they have nothing to do. Yeah. It doesn't concern them, but their education have been deprived. They have been deprived of education, and of course, education is a key to alleviate poverty and reduce inequality. People like us, it is education that permitted us to be speaking with you today. So when I see that children in that part of my country, the country which I love so much, have been deprived of education, I feel so bad. And I hope that there will be a peaceful resolution of this crisis, as well as in every part of the world. Yeah. That is my wish.
I have to say that, there's such hard and massive topics to be able to kind of explore and to try to find solutions for. How do you actually not feel overwhelmed by all this? Because it's a massive thing, and the situation is incredibly hard. How do you maintain, your sense of peace and agency to be able to make some change?
Yeah, when you decide to undertake this kind of studies, you must be prepared. You must understand that it is not you, but it is the people you want to serve. It is a sacrifice. And when you speak to these people, you must give them hope. There are a lot of stories which you listen, which will pain you a lot. But you must maintain this stability and smile. And that is it. I can assure you it wasn't an easy situation to undergo this kind of research, talking with people, hearing their stories. It wasn't. Especially when it is your country, you understand. It is really sad, but you have to, you have to be strong.
Yeah.
You have to be strong. I invite you to read. I think maybe you've read it already. I'm going to send you again the link.
Yeah. I think it's just something that more people should be reading, to be honest. Because
we should do everything, as I always say. I look forward to a world where we can discuss, but not fight. Because when we should learn to accept people's opinions. That is the beauty of democracy.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of democracy and freedom, because it creates room for people to discuss and not fight. And I think that we can respect people's opinion. We can negotiate without getting to kill each other, without getting to. I think these are extremist situations which shouldn't be encouraged in any part of the world. Because though this research was done in Cameroon, I think of many other areas in the world, in Gaza, in many other areas of the world where this kind of, in Ukraine, where children are suffering, women are suffering because of war, in Sudan, in Ethiopia. There's so many parts of the world today. There's a lot of tension in many parts of the world. Children are suffering, women are suffering, of course, even the men are suffering. So it is not really an easy situation to work in this area of peace. But then it is necessary, because there's no way humanity can prosper without peace.
Absolutely.
Peace is essential in everything we do. It is a key. And if there is no peace, then there is no humanity.
Yeah.
I think the work of peace expert or peace specialist is becoming more and more important. It's becoming more and more important, and because, of course, you see today when you watch the news, there is so much tension, migration issues, etc. There's so much conflict even within companies, because when we talk of peace, peace work is not only about the wars, even in companies. There are conflicts. Peace advocate can work to draft and to design a good organizational behavior, just like what you do in diversity, equality, and inclusion. It's part of all this. Peace work incorporates everything, and one of the beauty of peace work is that we look ourselves as global citizens, and global citizens are these people that fight injustice, no matter its form, no matter where it is. Yeah, so that is how I work.
One of the things that I love about your work, and then that kind of, I do see some ties to things that I'm doing as well from diversity, equity, inclusion. When you talk about peace, it's not just the absence of conflict, there's the presence of certain other things as well. And one of the things that you bring into your research and your work, I love, is that it's listening, okay? Listening and understanding. And in your particular research paper that you did, in your thesis, I was incredibly impressed by how you managed to talk to 302 women from 4 cities, and that's an amazing thing to be able to pull off, particularly the fact that there are conflicts and things like that going on and such. I'm curious, how did you actually firstly manage that? And when you're listening to all the stories, how are you making sure that, you're making sense of all this? Because it can be overwhelming, right? All the kind of things that you get. How do you make certain that, you are understanding it from their perspective and not just from your perspective, especially you're talking about women's issues and things like this, and you are not a woman. So how do you make certain that you get that insight and you make sense of all that from those 302 people?
Yeah, I had research assistants, women from the communities which I visited, and those women could speak the local dialect. There are people known among them, and I use my social network to get in contact with the community leaders, some organizations that work with the internally displaced women, in order to gain the trust that could enable them to answer the questionnaire. Because I couldn't, because it's not a very safe place that I could just go like that. So I made use of all this network. In Africa, in Africa or in my country, people believe so much in religion. You speak to the belief in their quarter heads, like community leaders. You speak to them. They have these local associations. You speak to those local associations, village associations, that, okay, this is something you want to investigate, how it happened. They will tell you, okay, there are this number of internally displaced women. There is this association, they have internally displaced women there. So they know how to get to them. Then they help you to get to them. Now, with the help of the research assistants who were female, because I had a questionnaire, and the research assistant will be asking the questions depending on the well-drafted questionnaire which we form, and according to the answer they were giving, we were ticking. Was a Google questionnaire, online questionnaire.
And I always think about, from my side, one of the concerns I always think about safety. And you're asking very sensitive questions here. You're asking very personal questions. I always think about, what can we do, especially when you're asking very sensitive topics, what can we do to try to support people through the emotional and the psychological challenges that might happen, that might come up as a result of asking these questions. You might trigger something again in people or bring something up. How do you make sure that that you can be responsible to people in that context?
Yeah, when you undertake such a research, because I am planning to also research on the impact on children, and to investigate the impact of the crisis on the children, the mental health of children, because some children in that part of the country have been out of school for long. Some had to move to other cities in order to go to school. But the idea is everyone who was studying there has been affected somehow or the other, especially the non-elite. When I say the non-elite, like people whose parents didn't have money to immediately send them out of the country or in other bigger cities. So they have been affected. So when you do this kind of research, the truth is, in research you try as much as possible to mitigate this. But of course, it is never 100%, because there are some people you will be discussing with them, even out of the questionnaire, and they are sharing tears. They will tell you their past life, how they used to be fine, and now they are surviving on assistance. But it is something that they have been there already since 2017, late 2016, 2017, and they are becoming more and more strong. And you see, some will laugh, they will just laugh, but it is not a laughter of joy, but like, sometimes you face so many challenges and you just decide to be strong because being strong is the only thing you have.
Yeah.
It's just it.
Honestly, the thing I think about sometimes in my own life and just in terms of with just different circumstances the people around me go through and such, what I see is this concept of defiant joy, where there are certain people in certain places and contexts where they'll just insist on having peace, they'll insist on having joy despite everything that's going around them, because it may not be that the circumstance itself will lend itself to peace, but the fact is, it's something that one has to actively fight for and claim despite the circumstances. And I think that's a remarkable thing if anyone can pull that off.
Just to add to what you're trying to put forward, like you said something here between there is peace means many things.
Yeah.
Like even it is difficult to be happy when you're poor. You cannot be at peace maybe when you cannot feed, when you're facing difficulties to eat, you don't have access to healthcare and all those kind of things. It's still difficult.
Yeah.
But now those are governance challenges. And still it is the work of peace experts to work with the policy makers in order to ensure that human beings are put at the center of decision making.
Yeah.
That is why even at the United Nations, peace work is becoming more and more important. And it goes in line with human rights, because there is no peace without respect for human rights. And if you look at the way human rights is being codified, it is all about the first degree right, which talks about the fundamental freedom. Second degree right, which talks about the right to health, education, so you discover that governance is all about respecting the rights.
Yeah.
And if you govern by putting human right at the center of your governance, because human right is part of governance, part and parcel of governance. If you're a leader and you put human right at the center of every action you take, every policy you take, automatically you are bringing up a generation of people that will be very happy.
Yeah.
So it is important that people be re-educated about human rights. Because when I studied global politics, because with me, I studied governance, I studied global politics, and I studied peace.
Yeah.
So global politics is about norms, how norms travel. And when we talk about norms, we talk about norms of democracy, human rights, freedom, how they travel from different parts of the world. And you see, there are a lot of there are a lot of laws that have been ratified in Africa, a lot of convention, a lot, which when you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it comes to maybe Cameroon, they are not going to call it the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They're going to ratify it, and it's going to become part and parcel of our law.
Yeah.
It is a norm that comes from above, that has been inspired the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, etc. So global politics talks about how norms travel from the global to the regional, to the sub-regional, then to the local.
Yeah.
And see all about all these human rights issues, this freedom, democracy, etc. They are very important for a peaceful world. And when you talk about governance, it's about the application. It's all about the application of all these concepts that flow maybe from the global to the regional to the local. Because, for example, if you see every country today is part of a global community. They have ratified laws, they have ratified a lot of conventions, and when we talk about ratification, we talk about domiciliation of these laws. Now, in some countries it is proven that countries that try to apply them, well, they have a form of better governance. And countries that isolate themselves and maybe reject those principles, because sometimes when this norm flows, they can change name. They may not actually get the same name as it is called at the global level, but the essential is try to maintain some of the characteristics of the norms. And when countries try to apply this, of course, they will. If you look at the case of Africa today, this country that try to be part and parcel of the global community benefit a lot in terms of even funding from organizations that work in partnership with them. And generally, most of these organizations that come in Africa, they work for the non-elite. And governance is about helping the non-elite. Democracy is about helping the non-elite. It's about the voice of the voiceless. And that is the beauty of it. And that is why we must promote it, because a lot is being said across the world today. A lot is being said, but I can assure you, people talk so much about democracy in Africa, but they limit democracy to elections. Democracy is more than that. Democracy is more than just changing a leader. It's about transparency in governance. It's about accountability in governance. It's about the respect for human rights. It's about the respect for freedom. That is why when you read a lot of documents about the World Bank, they call democracy good governance. If you read all the principles of good governance, it is part and parcel of democracy. But now, we are in a world where the people who are in charge of implementing don't have the theoretical background. The people who have the theoretical background are sidelined because they don't have the right social network.
So, Nathan, are you going to be the person who's going to overcome the situation, and I'm going to see you?
I try every day. I try every day, but I don't have the social network. If I had the social network, I would have been somewhere today. But the social network is not there. You understand? You know, the more you work hard, the more you grow. The more you understand that you need the right network to achieve certain things. And sometimes when you don't have it, who recommends you matters a lot, sometimes even more than what you know. And that is why we keep working hard, knowing that someday we're going to find this right network that will recommend us.
First, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you, but then also I'm hoping that somebody listening to this might know somebody who knows somebody, maybe connect you with something here.
We keep our fingers crossed.
I'm really curious because you talk so much about, in terms of, I love you're bringing things about democracy being good governance, and I love that you're bringing in like the different elements of democracy, different elements of aspects of human rights and such. I would love to know, from your perspective, what do you think are the things that go most neglected? Because let's say from the different commissions that are out there, different kinds of, international, the NGOs, etc., that we have, they're focusing on human rights now a bit more. You're having more conversations about this.
People talk so much.
They talk so much.
So much about human rights.
Yeah. But what are the aspects that they're forgetting the most? What's something you would say, hey, they really need to look at this?
Yeah, now I'm in Europe. Just last week you were talking so much about European elections, and the center of it was migration. And in the US, of course, your country, they're talking now about migration. I listen to what Biden wants to do in order not to separate family, which I congratulate him for that. And I'm happy with that. I'm going to say the first thing which I think seems to be neglected is the right of migrants and refugees. You see, some of us from Africa, we knew that, okay, Europe is a sacrosanct for democracy. You understand? Democracy has key principles. Respect for human rights, fundamental freedoms, the rule of law, and a transparent and accountable governance. Migrant and refugee right is part of human right. Right. So it needs to be respected. Yeah. You understand? There is, and wherever there is diversity, equality, and inclusion, there cannot be diversity, there cannot be equality, there cannot be inclusion without the respect of these rights. Mm-hmm. You know, one of my great admiration about America, though they have a lot of weaknesses as well, is because somehow they have a lot of weaknesses, but they still remain the best when it comes to diversity and inclusion. Yeah. If you go to all the great centers in America, you will see, I know so many Cameroonians, that's what they talk about, the American dream. When you go to the big research center in America, there are Cameroonians in NASA. They studied in Cameroon and they left Cameroon and they went to the US and they lived the American dream. They joined NASA. Yeah. And NASA makes the beauty of America. In every system, you see, we need to create a world. We need to create this kind of world where we give people the opportunity without looking at their color, without looking at whether they are migrants or they are refugees. Because how can I say this? The respect for diversity is a spice for life. Because when people bring many ideas together, they can do miracles.
Franklin, I feel like I have to interject a little bit here because yes, I do come from the States, and yes, we do talk about diversity and inclusion a lot there, but I would definitely say we have a lot of diversity. Absolutely. I think we do get lots of people from different places. I think we have a lot of work yet ahead of us when it comes to inclusion. How can we make certain that people are actually, empowered? People are, involved in the systems that they're entering in? Do they get the resources that they need and such? There are so many different aspects of that, in the States that are still works in progress. I don't want to put out a false narrative that, the U.S. is a place that's actually achieved all these things.
No, I said, no, they still have a lot to work on. You understand? I believe human endeavor is never perfect because humans are not perfect.
Yes.
You understand? No, I am not dreaming of a utopic world. No. But I'm just being realistically that compared to many parts of the world, they are doing better. You see, and I look forward to a society where many people, individual institutions will be open to listen to other people's stories, integrate them into the system, help them, because of course, one of the problems too, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, is because sometimes there is this fear of the unknown. You understand? There is this fear of the unknown, but I think institutions in Europe are strong.
Yes.
That the institution create checks and balances. You understand?
Yeah.
But maybe now the unknown can be in terms of competency. But now the world today is such a way that people can always get 1 or 2 trainings within 6 months and they do miracles. So this calls for patience and empathy, a desire that I trust you. I am going to make you part of the system. You may have one weakness here and there, and you do the necessary training in order to become apt.
Yeah.
But
how do we cultivate empathy? Like, how do we get people to care about the challenges and situations of people and things they don't see or understand?
Yeah, I have traveled quite a lot, and many times,
Mm.
like in the developed world, the people who showed a lot of empathy,
Mm.
in discussions, when I asked them, I discovered that they too travel a lot.
Mm.
Yeah. So they travel a lot. They met so many situations in the world. And I remember I was traveling to my country, and I had a problem with I had a fracture,
Oh.
and I was trying to like move with my valleys,
Mm.
and someone just came, "Can I help you?" And I was so glad.
Mm.
See, these are things that are not common.
Yeah.
They are not common because like in the developed world, they don't care. People mind their business. Of course, because there are also a lot of problems in the world today that because of that, people are also afraid even to help. You understand?
Mm.
The truth is, we should learn to, we should try to like always not look at things in a negative way from the
Mm.
first side.
Yeah.
And as you said, coming back now to your question, I think we just need to continue creating awareness,
Mm.
continue talking about life and real life situations.
Mm.
Yeah, because like you come from America, I know America has some problems, but it's difficult in America maybe to get up and I don't know, but if somebody talks about sometimes some people live in situations where they have never spent a day without eating.
Mm. Mm.
So it becomes difficult for them. It's not their fault.
Mm.
It becomes difficult for them to imagine that. You understand?
Mm.
It becomes difficult for them to think that somebody can be sick and not even have money to go to the hospital. If
Mm.
you're born, for example, in Finland, maybe you have access to healthcare, education, free education.
Mm.
You have free healthcare, so many things at your disposal.
Yeah.
But if you come from where I come from, those things are not given.
Mm.
You understand the world differently.
Yeah.
You understand? And you're not going to blame a thing
Mm.
for not understanding. No, it's not his or her fault. You
Mm.
understand? But we just need to keep creating awareness.
Mm.
We just need to keep discussing.
Yeah.
And many people are becoming more and more open. People are traveling across the world. They are seeing many things that are happening. People are gaining more empathy.
Mm.
But I think the educational part of it should just continue
Yeah.
because, our education today is made in such a way that we value so much, we place more emphasis on education and reason
Mm.
and little emphasis on empathy.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think I can say that because at least I've studied 4 masters. So I can say that somehow. Because our education system places so much emphasis on science and reason. Little emphasis on empathy. Of course, because I know, you can't put empathy at the center. No, it's not possible because like people can take advantage of all this. But
Mm.
still, but still.
I would say though, there's so much room. You're absolutely right. There's so much room for us to be able to grow in how we're teaching empathy
Yeah.
from the earlier, education to adulthood as well. It's something that's a constant learning. And I think about this as I work with different companies, I work with different, executives and such who are at the point where they have to start realizing you gotta care. You gotta care about more people. You have to care about people who are, different from you in different kind of ways. You have to
Yeah.
always challenge yourself to think about things and how to make space for that care. And I think that's a hard thing to do. But actually, I wanted to ask you if there were something that you wanted anybody listening to this to be able to walk away from this conversation knowing or thinking about. If you wanted to plant something in somebody's mind today, what would be that thought that you want someone to walk away with?
I would say people should cultivate a little bit of empathy, especially towards the migrants and the refugees, because they go through a lot. That's the truth. Everyone would love to be in his country. with his family, enjoying the kind of food he has always wanted to be eating, to be playing around with his family and relatives around. But when you see a migrant leaving his family behind and going to a new world, you see, it is because sometimes they need something. They need to give hope.
Yeah.
They need to give hope to, like, I will just take it in the basic, like some of us from Africa who come to Europe, we become like a lot friends, relatives, they look up to us. And sometimes you leave your family behind and you come and you get excluded because you are not accepted because of your color, because of your race. It's sometimes it's sad. You understand, but you need to be strong and be positive and be peaceful. It's important. It cannot become radical or no. It's always important to be peaceful and be positive. So I would say people should cultivate more. People should inculcate human right in them, because we teach human right, but we practice it less.
Absolutely.
If we make human right become part and parcel of us, then the world will be a perfect place.
I would love that. And you know what? Okay. So that's a lot of work. That's going to take a lot of
work. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot over time.
I think the best thing humanity did was to come out with this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this Universal Declaration of Human Rights has everything to prosper the world. But unfortunately, it is very, very neglected. It is neglected in many of our countries. Very few countries try to practice it. You can't do it to the fullest because there are a lot of challenges, but we should try to always ensure that in our governance, in our way of governing our society, in our ways of of shaping laws, we should put human right at the center. And if human right is put at the center, then we are going to have a peaceful world. A peaceful and prosperous world.
I'm very excited about that. All right. So, Franklin, you've already added so much to my day, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But I'm curious, so how can somebody else add you to their day and add your expertise to what they're doing? What's a good way to be in contact or to reach out to you?
Okay, like now I'm in Finland. I can say I want to build my social network. So, and building this social network implies, one, maybe getting an organization where I can work in order to continue increasing my practical experience. I'll talk about facilitating access to workshops and seminars. Mentorship, of course, because I still have a lot to learn. Mentorship from the expert in the field who say, okay, Franklin, I will become your mentor and I'm going to teach you so many things. It is important. You can't grow in life if you don't have mentors to teach you. You understand? And also networking. I think I need it a lot because that's what I lack so much. I need network now in order to do great things and impact the world.
So you know what? I was going to say thank you for being my virtual colleague today and for just, adding so much wisdom and insight to this afternoon. But just want to say anybody who's interested in reaching out to Franklin, please do so. Definitely someone worthwhile connecting with. I would definitely give my seal of approval in terms of having that new person to know and to enrich what you know. And if anybody's lucky enough to get him as a colleague, well, that is a blessing indeed. So, Franklin, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this call and thank you for everything.
My pleasure.